It's or its? What's the difference? Let's find out. It's exactly the same. We have short E, which doesn't really sound like an E, but that's the subject and topic for a completely different video. Then we have T and we have S, its. And of course in here it's exactly the same, its. Now let's have a look at what they mean. So basically its is a possessive word, which means it has exactly the same function as my, your, etc., etc. Now the interesting thing is that it refers to it, and this it, as you can see, is that. So now what is the meaning of this particular it? In this case, it is a contracted form of it is. So how can we recognize the difference between them from the perspective of how they are used in a sentence? To understand it is as a contraction, what we need to do is we need to have a look at the structure of a sentence. And so the most basic building blocks of the sentence are three blocks: the block of a subject, verb, and an object. And we are going to place it in the block of the subject. Now, of course, verb be is going to be in the block of the verb, and we are going to leave object over here without anything. And that is because, you see, it in this particular case has really two functions. On the one hand, what it does, it makes an announcement because it announces what this sentence is about. Now, this sentence, in a way, needs to be explained because as it is right now, it means nothing. And that's because it can refer to anything. I don't really know what this is. I have no idea what this particular sentence is trying to communicate. So you see, if I am going to put an element over here in the object, it's as if this particular it announces this object. And that is because this object is going to carry more significance in the information or in the interpretation of this particular sentence. So from the perspective of structure, you can't really argue that it is in the position of a subject. But from the perspective of interpretation and what's really important over here, we know that it is not very important. It only introduces what is important, what is significant, what carries the meaning of this particular sentence. So all I have to do in a way is to put an element over here which is going to make this sentence logical, which will explain why it was used for the announcement of this particular element. So we are going to use an adjective over here and we will say safe. At this point of time, this particular it already has done one job, which means it announced or it introduced safe. So we know how to interpret that particular it. But now there is another one. We still have no idea what this it is, what this it refers to. It has also a very significant job of making a reference point to something that was said before, which means something had to come before this. So now let's have a look at the sentence that comes before. At this point of time, we know exactly what this it refers to, what meaning is hidden behind it. So in a way, it has as if two jobs. On the one hand, it needs to refer to something that was said before. On the other hand, within its own sentence environment, it introduces what is significant or what this particular sentence is about, because it on its own doesn't mean anything. We have two sentences. I love this car and I love safety features. Now, the first sentence is exactly the same, but you can see the second sentence is completely different. When you look at those two sentences, they seem completely separate. On the one hand, you talk about your feeling towards one object, and then on the other hand, you talk about your feeling towards other objects. Because over here we have features, so that means plural. So you see, at this point of time, we don't really have any reference point right here. It's as if those two sentences provide two separate pieces of information and that's it. But logically speaking, we know that we talk about safety features of this car. We know that that's why we love it. So we want to make sure that we interpret those particular safety features as belonging to this car. In other words, this car possesses those safety features and that's why we love it. So at this point of time, we need to start thinking about those safety features through the perspective of this car. But if we were to refer to this car in this particular sentence, we would really use it. Now, we cannot use it because we are not talking about this car. We are talking about something that it has or something that it possesses. So now, what does it possess? Well, safety features. How can we refer those safety features to this car? At the same time, how can we communicate that those safety features belong to that car? Well, that is exactly where it comes to play. And you see, the moment we do this, it in a way introduces or announces safety features, but at the same time, it refers to this car. It communicates, hey, those safety features belong to this car. So in a way, you can see certain similarities between how they behave, but of course, they have completely different functions and completely different meanings. Let's just create another sentence. What we've done here is we reshuffled the elements and put them into different points in the same structure. So we have over here its engine, but now it is in a position of a subject, not in a position of an object. On top of it, it's a singular noun and not plural noun. Then what we've done is we put amazing, which is an adjective, in a position of an object. So it's exactly the same way as over here. So we played around with it a little bit, but the function of possessive its has not changed at all. Because you see, over here when we say its engine, what we are referring to is straight away the engine that belongs to this car. At the same time, this its is telling us how we are supposed to interpret this engine. And that means we need to see this engine as something that belongs to something else. To what? That's the reference to this car. We hope this video managed to clarify possessive its and its in a contracted form, the differences, the similarities. If you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into any of the subjects we discussed so far, please let us know in the comments below. For the time being, thanks so much for watching, happy learning, and we'll see you in the next video.